I'm going to be reading to you from God's Day of Judgment, the real cause of global warming. The first thing that Doug talks about in this book, and I'll provide some pictures when I figure out how to connect everything, but one of the first things he talks about is something that I identified really early in discovery, and in any kind of discovery, when you're looking at leadership or when you're looking at politics or religion or even raising children, is how we're taught from childhood how to sort and divide things. You get a pile of blocks and you want to sort and put, the squares with the squares or the red with the red or what have you. It's part of our nature. And I have right here, should have gotten this down, I know. This is a Tupperware toy from a long time ago that I reordered because it's such a great tool in seeing or can be used for analogies of so many different things. But one of the things is how we categorize. And we sort things by shapes and color and size. And if we get things in the right place, they go in easily. And if we don't, we're going to struggle. And boy, how many analogies can that work with, right? Some of us spend our whole lives struggling to fit, and we're really just in the wrong place. So he talks about compartmentalization. Think about this. When we graduate high school, people want to know, what are you going to be, right? And what do you say? Well, maybe if you're good with math, you'll go into a math thing. Or maybe if your family have always been engineers, that's what you'll do. But who really knows at that age? There are ways that we could know, but we don't use those kinds of tools. So we just kind of guess. We're all kind of put together, thrown some stuff, and depending a lot on our teacher, it takes or it doesn't. You can have a great history teacher and love history, when a bad history teacher might leave you totally bored to death. So there's so many things that we need to consider when we're talking about looking at a particular thing. If we're going to school, we might go into astrophysics or theoretical physics or so many different kinds of physics, and none of the parts ever get together and talk. And can you imagine what happens? Think about religions. They're all basically the same, and basically all began based on the solar system and what the phenomena all around that couldn't be explained by people, right? And so if you look at the religions, if we gathered together and did not categorize by the name of the religion or the location of the religion or whatever, we might put two and two together and really come up with some good information that would be truth, universally accepted. But we don't, because we categorize. And another way that categorizing really affects us is in marketing. When I used to create marketing plans, you would know that if there were a river or a bridge in a specific location, that would definitely affect your marketing outreach, because people are how do you say it? We're bound by physical location, and we see it in our head. Like if I have to go across the ditch, we say, and leave the beach, that's like really foreign to me because the beach is my home. And it's only like 10 minutes, but there's still a river between us. And that makes a huge difference. It separates and divides people in ways that you probably never even considered. And the other thing that it does is it separates funding of money, depending on if the people who have the money are interested in the result that a researcher might come up with, they're more likely to give the money. And they don't want the researcher to come up with information that they're not interested in or that doesn't help their cause. So they won't fund those types of people. So then we see what gets funded and why, right? So categorization, think about the space program and Bob Lazar that came out and told his story, but it's hard to know that it's actual truth because everything was so compartmentalized. He knew about a small part and another person had their part, and unless they put their heads together, no one ever saw the big picture. And that's a lot of how the military operates, is that the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing strategically so that they can get both hands to do what they might not do if they compared notes. You see what I mean? So that is primarily one of the reasons why we don't have accurate, truthful information to base our lives on. Not to speak of the educational society being run by those at the top, obviously. So Doug has a lot of things that he found out and made available to the public through this book. And so what I'm going to do is read to you because there are 53 discoveries and I don't want to miss any of them in sharing with you the incredible things that this guy did. And he died last year in December. And it was very sad for me because I'd just gotten to know him and his wife, and it doesn't make sense. All right. You may be wondering why a book entitled God's Day of Judgment, The Real Cause for Global Warming, starts off by discussing the hard sciences. The reason is that what I've discovered encompasses all of these disciplines, and the conclusions change everything. Some famous scientists, including Newton, have tried to unite the concept of God with science, but have all failed for different reasons. Newton spent 50 years of his life and wrote 4,500 pages trying to predict the end of the world. His papers today exist in the Hebrew National Library, where a scrap of paper they recently found with the date 2060 on it. So as you can see, I'm certainly not the only person who has seriously studied the subject. And what, like others like Newton, lacked. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm just going to go on. Maybe I need water. What the others, like Newton, lacked was an accurate model of the universe. And that's the key. It's our paradigm, right? What I've succeeded in doing is uniting science with religion by using an informational theory of existence, which I developed in my first book, Reality Revealed, The Theory of Multidimensional Reality, written in 1977. This book reveals 53 important discoveries. 4 of them are the coded numbering system, which Moses used, the exact number of years between the polar reversals. This number permeates the entire Torah as well as the earlier books of the Hebrew Scriptures. You'll also see encoded within the Torah the exact month, day, and year, the next polar reversal, and resulting global cataclysm will happen according to the cycle. The second great discovery is the original model that created the Hebrew alphabet. The third is what the Torah actually is and is not the biblical surface story that we read. The fourth is the cause for the ice ages and the polar reversals. For those who do not know what Moses actually received in Mount Sinai, the Orthodox tradition says Moses was handed the entire Torah, all 304, 805,000 letters, of which the 10 Commandments were just a small part. The entire Torah consists of 5 books: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Moses wrote the biblical stories, but the Torah clearly says that he did not or could not add to, change, subtract, or change the letter sequence. He acquired 2 engraved stone tablets written on both sides, which contain 304, 805 symbols. The biblical stories are not what the Torah actually is. It is something totally different from what has been taught by religious leaders. One of the Orthodox traditions concerning the Torah is that the secret of redemption is contained within the Torah, but nobody knows what we are going to be redeemed from, nor how the Torah would be able to redeem us. This raises questions which can only be answered after you discover the model that created the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Doug accomplished this after 11 years of research and came up with the correct model. This would not have been discovered if Doug had not already discovered and developed with his partner an informational theory of existence. That's the key, the theory. Remember that. This discovery proves that Moses, a late Bronze Age man, if he lived, and we'll talk about that later, could not possibly have created the design of the Hebrew letters. Moses told us the truth when he wrote that the tablets were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God graven upon the tablets.